and Peter Claver S.J. was a Spanish Jesuit priest and missionary born in Verdú who, due to his life and work, became the patron saint of slaves, the Republic of Colombia, and ministry to African Americans. During the 40 years of his ministry in Colombia, it is estimated he personally baptized around 300,000 people. He is also patron saint for seafarers. He is considered a heroic example of what should be the Christian praxis of love and of the exercise of human rights. Early life. Claver was born in 1581 into a devoutly Catholic and prosperous farming family in the Catalan village of Verdú, Urgell, located in the province of Lleida, about 54 miles from Barcelona. He was born 70 years after King Ferdinand of Spain set the colonial slavery culture into motion by authorizing the purchase of 250 African slaves in Lisbon for his territories in New Spain, an event which was to shape Claver's life. Later, as a student at the University of Barcelona, Claver was noted for his intelligence and piety. After 2 years of study there, Claver wrote these words in the notebook he kept throughout his life: "I must dedicate myself to the service of God until death, on the understanding that I am like a slave in the New World." After he had completed his studies, Claver entered the Society of Jesus in Tarragona at the age of 20. When he had completed the novitiate, he was sent to study philosophy at Palma, Mallorca. While there, he came to know the porter of the college street, Alphonsus Rodriguez, a lay brother known for his holiness and gift of prophecy. Rodriguez felt that he had been told by God that Claver was to spend his life in service in the colonies of New Spain, and he frequently urged the young student to accept that calling. Claver volunteered for the Spanish colonies and was sent to the New Kingdom of Granada, where he arrived in the port city of Cartagena in 1610. Required to wait 6 years to be ordained as a priest while he did his theological studies. He lived in Jesuit houses at Tunja and Bogotá. During those preparatory years, he was deeply disturbed by the harsh treatment and living conditions of the black slaves who were brought from Africa. By this time, the slave trade had been established in the Americas for about a century. Local natives were considered not physically suited to work in the gold and silver mines, and this created a demand for blacks from Angola and Congo. These were bought in West Africa for 4 crowns a head, or bartered for goods and sold in America for an average 200 crowns apiece. Criminals, war captives, the mentally unstable, the sick and various social misfits were bartered to the white traders by the African chiefs. Others were captured at random, especially able-bodied males and females deemed suitable for labor. Cartagena was a slave trading hub. 10,000 slaves poured into the port yearly, crossing the Atlantic from West Africa under conditions so foul that an estimated 1/3 died in transit. Although the slave trade was condemned by Pope Paul III and Urban VIII had issued a papal decree prohibiting slavery, it was a lucrative business and continued to flourish. Claver's predecessor in his eventual lifelong mission, Father Alonso de Sandoval S.J., was his mentor and inspiration. Sandoval devoted himself to serving the slaves for 40 years before Claver arrived to continue his work. Sandoval attempted to learn about their customs and languages. He was so successful that, when he returned to Seville, he wrote a book in 1627 about the nature, customs, rights and beliefs of the Africans. Sandoval found Claver an apt pupil. When he was solemnly professed in 1622, Claver signed his final profession document in Latin as Petrus Claver Ethiopium Semper Service, ministry to the slaves. Whereas Sandoval had visited the slaves where they worked, Claver preferred to head for the wharf as soon as a slave ship entered the port. Boarding the ship, he entered the filthy and diseased holds to treat and minister minister to the badly treated, terrified human cargo, who had survived a voyage of several months under horrible conditions. It was difficult to move around on the ships because the slave traffickers filled them to capacity. The slaves were often told they were being taken to a land where they would be eaten. Claver wore a cloak, which he would lend to anyone in need. A legend arose that whoever wore the cloak received lifetime health and was cured of all disease. After the slaves were herded from the ship and penned in nearby yards to be scrutinized by crowds of buyers, Claver joined them with medicine, food, bread, brandy, lemons and tobacco. With the help of interpreters and pictures which he carried with him, he gave basic instructions. Claver saw the slaves as fellow Christians, encouraging others to do so as well. During the season when slavers were not accustomed to arrive, he traversed the country, visiting plantation after plantation, to give spiritual consolation to the slaves. During his 40 years of ministry, it is estimated that he personally catechized and baptized 300,000 slaves. He would then follow up on them to ensure that as Christians they received the Christian and civil rights. His mission extended beyond caring for slaves, however. He preached in the city square to sailors and traders and conducted country missions, returning every spring to visit those he had baptized, ensuring that they were treated humanely. During these missions, whenever possible, he avoided the hospitality of planters and overseers. Instead, he would lodge in the slave quarters. Claver's work on behalf of slaves did not prevent him from ministering to the souls of well-to-do members of society, traders and visitors to Cartagena and condemned criminals, many of whom he spiritually prepared for death. He was also a frequent visitor at the city's hospitals. Through years of unremitting toil and the force of his own unique personality, the slave's situation slowly improved. In time he became a moral force, the apostle of Cartagena. Illness and death. In the last years of his life, Peter was too ill to leave his room. He lingered for 4 years, largely forgotten and neglected, physically abused and starved by an ex-slave who had been hired by the superior of the house to care for him. He never complained about his treatment, accepting it as a just punishment for his sins. He died on the 7th of September 1654. When the people of the city heard of his death, many forced their way into his room to pay the last respects. Such was his reputation for holiness that they stripped away anything to serve as a relic of the saint. The city magistrates, who had previously considered him a nuisance for his persistent advocacy on behalf of the slaves, ordered a public funeral and he was buried with pomp and ceremony. The extent of Claver's ministry, which was prodigious even before considering the astronomical number of people he baptized, came to be realized only after his death. He was canonized in 1888 by Pope Leo XIII, along with the holy Jesuit porter Alphonsus Rodriguez. In 1896, Pope Leo also declared Claver the patron of missionary work among all African peoples. His body is preserved and venerated in the Church of the Jesuit Residents, now renamed in his honor. Legacy. Many organizations, missions, parishes, religious congregations, schools and hospitals bear the name of Saint Peter Claver and also claim to continue the mission of Claver as the following. The Knights of Peter Claver, Inc. is the largest African American Catholic fraternal organization in the United States. In 2006, a unit was established in San Andres, Colombia, South America. The order was founded in Mobile, Alabama and is presently headquartered in New Orleans. Claver's mission continues today in the work of the Apostleship of the Sea, and his inspiration remains among port chaplains and those who visit ships in the name of the Church. Through the AOS. Among the many parishes dedicated to St. Peter Claver are those in Lexington, Kentucky, West Hartford, Connecticut, Macon, Georgia, New Orleans, Louisiana, Simi Valley, California, St. Paul, Minnesota, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, Montclair, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, and Nairobi, Kenya. Among the many schools dedicated to St. Peter Claver are those in Decatur, Georgia, and Pimville, South Africa. The oldest African American school in the Diocese of St. Petersburg, and the oldest African American school still functioning in the state of Florida, is the St. Peter Claver Catholic School.